Hi, welcome to my art channel. This demonstration in watercolor is based on an oil painting by early 20th century American artist Carl Rungius, a leading wildlife artist of his time. This oil painting shows a bull elk standing on a hillside. Elk, also known as wapiti, is one of the largest species within the deer family found in North America and Northeast Asia. Focus area of learning are as follows: what to sketch and, more importantly, what to ignore. Painting objects under shade, that is not directly lit by sunlight, and some skill watch sections embedded in this demonstration where I slow down to explain a process or application of skills in detail. So, stay with me. Sketching is a fundamental but often a neglected aspect of painting. Sketching, believe it or not, is far more important skill than any art skill that you may think of. Here in this demo, I focused all my energy in drawing the elk. Since I was not familiar with the animal anatomy, it really helped me to slow down and feel the shapes of various parts of the animal in simple 3D objects. As always, angles and proportions are duly checked simultaneously while I drew them. A very basic outline of the distant snowy peaks was sketched. The tall trees that would help frame the elk are barely marked, just as a mental note to myself, as they would be eventually delineated using brush and paint. I then masked the elk using masking fluid. Two separate color solutions of consistency similar to tea were prepared with cobalt blue with a touch of carmine, and another with cadmium yellow and Indian yellow. With a medium stiff synthetic squirrel brush, I splattered on paper, leaving some paper white here and there. Note, the brush should not be saturated with pigment solution, rather should be semi-saturated, which can be done by either squeezing the brush between my left thumb and index finger, or quickly rubbing it against a moisture absorbing surface like a paper towel or a cotton cloth. Then I used the pre-prepared yellow mix or solution, and using a different brush but same type to splat yellow color on some left out paper white of sky as well as portions of hills, deliberately leaving some paper white. Leaving paper white is essential to simulate high brightness areas exposed to sunlight. The mode of application through brush should be such that the pigment charged on paper should be minimal, a feat that can be achieved by squeezing out excess moisture from brush. Shadows or shaded portions of hills are tinted with bluish green color, and with similar tone but marginally darker, vertical distant trees are indicated. It is a common knowledge that distant objects tend to be bluish, That doesn't mean that one should heavily tint distant object with saturated blues. Use it with some judgment, otherwise it would end up looking cartoonish. Distant trees are painted using a greenish blue color. To simulate distance, the trees should be tonally lighter than the trees which are nearer to the observer. Also note a very subtle darkening of tone as the trees touch the ground. This helps anchor objects to the ground. This phenomenon of darkening of tone at the region of meeting of two objects is called ambient occlusion. Please keep checking my Skill Builder series for better understanding on ambient occlusion, if not uploaded yet. I used a semi-dry brush to draw the main trunk of the tree. You only get one chance to mark on paper. The key to success is to visualize the stroke, then just go for it by moving your shoulder, keeping your wrist steady. Again, using a semi-dry brush and picking pigment of creamy consistency, I captured only the visual pattern of the foliage. Note the effects of marking with semi-dry brush with creamy pigment. There will be some hits and misses of marking with pigment on paper because of its roughness. This effect simulates the phenomenon of diffraction of light that accounts for quote-unquote missing thin branches against the relatively bright background. I use my fingernails to scratch some highlights. My greens in this case is a mix of olive green with touch of earthy tones like burnt sienna, raw sienna. And should I need to darken it, I add a touch of blue or purple. To add a bit of sheen on the lighter side of the trees, I added a bit of warm neutral of slightly thinner consistency than the existing body color of the tree. Remember, trees are conical objects, hence needed to be treated like that. Otherwise, the trees will look as two-dimensional cutouts. You may consider subscribing to my Patreon channel where for a token monthly pledge you get full-length videos, elaborate skill builder series, art discussions and much more. Please check the description box for link and more information. I marked crisscross pattern on ground to simulate the curvature and foreshortening of ground plane. It is a nice little trick to punctuate a vast space. Time to go for the elk. I used a rubber picker to gently scratch out dried layer of masking fluid. Using paper towel and just plain water from brush, I picked up some pigments where I thought some lightening of tone was required. The big chunk of this composition is not directly lit by sunlight. Hence, there are no sharp shadows. This is particularly challenging for a watercolor artist to render objects which are not directly lit by sunlight. The keys to success are threefold. 1. To maintain tonal integrity of the objects. 2. To desaturate objects. And 3. Don't go too much abstract on subjects. On tonal integrity, the artist must strive to not stretch the tonal difference between the darkest dark and the lightest light. They must be fairly close in tonal value. And overall, the tonal scale should be in the darker side. On my second point on saturation, as you have observed, objects which are indirectly lit from the ambience tend to lose color saturation. On my third point on abstraction, the silhouettes and shapes of the figures and objects should be more recognizable to the human eye. Too much abstraction confuses our brain. Basically, objects not under sun should be clearly painted. To pick up some lighter elements after one has done the darks, the artist must take recourse to using slightly opaque light colors. I used yellows and olive greens with touch of warm greys. I had to slow down when I was painting the elk. Basically, the more recognizable the subject is, slower should be the pace of painting. Uniformity in pace of painting is a bane, and an artist must vary the pace of painting based on the nature of the subject. I was almost finished, and too much nitpicking would have really spoiled it. final touches on ground with some light opaque colors to bring out some resemblance of highlights and darks. Thanks for watching this demonstration. Watch out for my next videos.